Hey Lumberjacks, and welcome to Discover Digital, an inside look at technology here at NAU. Technology surrounds us and is integrated in almost every part of our lives. In today's episode, we take a closer look regarding application systems analysis at NAU. I am joined today with Rye Heidinger, NAU ITS's application systems analyst. Good morning, Rye. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's snowing a lot, so that's fun. Fun home.
Always fun. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and explain what you do at ITS?
Absolutely. So my name is Rye Heidinger, and I'm an application systems analyst in EIS within ITS. So application systems analyst is kind of a generalized job title. There's a lot of us ASAs throughout ITS, but the thing that makes us different is which applications we are responsible for or support. And so the main applications I am connected to are enterprise WordPress, so the main websites, nau.edu and in.nau.edu, and the various sites that live within them. And then Site Improve, a third-party monitoring platform we use to scan all of those web pages and get some very valuable data. My team is not quite a development team. We do not do much in the way of actual code slinging, but we work with configuration and setting up new websites within the platform. We do a great deal of troubleshooting when something goes wrong, people aren't sure how to fix issues, they can come to us, and we do most of the training on the platform. So we have set up the initial self-paced online training, we provide the support for that, and then review people's work to give them access to the actual sites themselves. WordPress has kind of been our entire focus for the past couple of years. Our team used to work on the old website system, Ectron, which was a nightmare and a half. But thankfully, WordPress has been much, 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 much better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think WordPress is definitely a beast, I would call it. It's better, like you said, I've never gotten to use Electron, and so I'm assuming that based on what everybody says, it is better than Electron, but it's just so tricky to. I just think it's tricky, but it's so cool. I really like the coding and everything that we do behind the scenes,
Excellent.
and so I think that's cool for students to know that pretty much what you guys are the ones that give access to everything, like buttons and things like that that people really don't even think about.
Mhm.
That's that's what you guys do, and I'm so thankful that you guys are in charge of all of that because
Thank you very
it's
much.
so cool. Um,
And,
so that being said, how do you feel that your role and your team directly affect the lumberjack community?
absolutely. Because we are behind the scenes, I don't think there's anybody that would recognize us or many of our names. But we have worked with clients and staff and faculty all across campus to get them trained up to ensure they have what they need to keep their websites up to date and keep information current. So all faculty, staff, students, and other members of our NAU community can find the information they need, hopefully in a quick and easy manner. We collaborate with a number of other teams, like the NAU Experience Design folks, who do so much incredible work in making the actual systems easier to use, easier to follow, a lot of incredible design choices, and their work with the NAU Go app to try and provide as wonderful an experience as possible for students that are using the website on the go, or using the app, pardon me, to connect to features within the website. And I hope that we can continue to do more of that work to help them help students, and also ensure we're doing everything we can to help the community. But right now, a lot of it is kind of the behind the scenes, making sure people have what they need to help campus and keep information
Yeah,
flowing.
yeah. I think that's awesome. Like you were saying, little things just like having easy access. Do you think that you would ever play or want to play a bigger role in doing something like that with the apps? Because I noticed that right now, like NAU Go per se is just kind of like linked to the websites, the NAU websites. Do you think there would ever be a point where it would just be that like you could do all of the things in an app directly without being directed to the website?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a very good question. I think a lot of it depends on sort of where the directions that the app is going and the directions that the website are going. As I know right now, there's a lot of really great work happening on both ends of things, that the NAU Go team is doing some
Yeah,
really, really cool stuff.
yeah.
And then our full development team is working a lot with marketing on some of the new designs, features, and functions to help make the website easier to use.
Mhm.
I would like to think we will get to a point where there can be a much more seamless transition, if there is still a transition, to help ensure that experience is as flawless as can be. I am not quite privy enough to information about how that might work or when, but I do know that people are constantly talking between these teams to
Mhm.
try and make sure things are moving in the right directions.
Yeah, for sure. I think both teams are doing an awesome job, and I think the collaboration between you two would be just mind blowing. Like everybody's just trying to help students in any way that they can.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, how do you see the web environment changing 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. So with all technology, but I think especially web, change happens so fast.
Mhm.
And so I think that even in 5 years, let alone
Yeah.
10, we will be looking at kind of a different climate. One of the trends I see only increasing will be kind of personalization, both for web in general and for NAU. There is a lot of ways that our systems are beginning to communicate with each other in ways they haven't before. Most recently, we had the NAU directory have its major update last year that combined so many different data sources to bring kind of one direct spot for all of this information that a lot of different apps and systems connect to.
Mhm.
And it's the type of thing that now that we have it, I couldn't imagine it being any different. That we will continue to see more of the combinations, connections of other NAU that we have to ensure that current faculty and students are able to get what they need much more quickly. But also, hopefully, that prospective students will be able to interact with the site and features and our systems in ways they haven't before, as we are able to connect more streams together. One thing that I am particularly excited about, some people may have been seeing this pop up around the website, but Dr. Burrell has had a project with a chatbot, the Louis chatbot that has started to appear, pardon me, across the NAU website, that we've got some really great student workers dive to, trying to make it a really helpful tool for super fast access to information. And we're trying to see what information students are asking for most, to feed that in, give better answers, direct people to resources more quickly. And the information we get from that can then be fed into, all right, we're getting a ton of people who look at this content at this time of the year. What can we do to promote that in search engines? What can we do to make this more easily available? So we are hoping that by people using these services, we'll be able to continually improve them, make them more efficient, and thus give people more of the experience they specifically need.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about that. And I think the chatbot, with that being said, it would be cool to even collaborate with us in the comms department, because
Yeah.
if you guys were to see, oh, like a bunch of students are looking up how to reset their passwords at the end of this semester, then we'd be able
Mhm.
to like direct them and do some sort of campaign around that time and be like, hey, just a
Absolutely.
reminder, you go here, here, and here. And that would just be because of the chatbot, which is crazy to think that that's such a tool that like it's a tool that's so new that we couldn't
Mhm.
even imagined a couple years ago. So I guess you're right. In
Exactly.
10 years, who knows what we're going to be able to do with this, uh,
Yeah.
which is just like, I don't know, maybe there'd be like some sort of face recognition, not even just on our phones, but maybe through the computers too, or something like that.
Something,
Um,
yeah.
who knows?
Or voice recognition of ways that you could, log in. Yeah, using some kind of biometric data would be super convenient, and I think would make some of the two-factor authentication a little bit easier than it is right now.
Yeah.
But being able to connect to, any computer lab, you walk in, you can sit down and use one of these simpler sign-in methods to just dive into whatever you were working on. I imagine that would be an awesome thing for students, or using something like the Louis chatbot, if in 10 years we finally get Google Glass or something similar actually does raise its head again. That would be awesome to be walking around campus, imagine as a new student, and say, oh man, I don't know where this class is. Hey, Louis, where is English 154? And to pull up a little thing of the NAU Go map or something. That would be the kind of thing I would love to see.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I would have definitely loved that my freshman year. I definitely got lost on the first day of class, and I ended up walking
Mhm.
3 miles or
Yeah,
4
no,
miles just in a circle.
it
Um,
wasn't even that long ago that I was a student, but it was still the, taking a screenshot of my class schedule back when I was an undergrad and putting that as my lock screen on my phone. So that way in between classes I could just quick check, oh yeah, I need to go to liberal arts and if I'm there.
no, yeah, I think that's definitely still I guess with online school, that's not or with NAU Flex,
Yeah.
not that big of a deal anymore, but
Hmm.
I would say that that's just part of the college experience, I guess, knowing where
Perfect.
your classes are,
Perfect. I'm
getting a
not
little
that out of
lost.
touch yet. Not that out of touch yet.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you wish more people knew about your job?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we have some people who know everything essentially, but everybody knows different parts about our work, and it would be awesome if we could find more ways to teach everybody about everything. I think the most unknown is the work we have done in documentation. So a lot of people who put in a lot of work with their WordPress sites and take the training and take it really seriously, sometimes have to work on other elements of their job or get caught up in a project and then come back to WordPress and have some confusion about where to jump back in and some of the short codes. Maybe we had an update and names changed or something like that. On our website in.nau.edu/web, we maintain our style guide, as it's called, that is essentially kind of an A to Z index of documentation for pretty much every feature users can access in WordPress. And so we try and pitch it at our trainings and when we have web coordinator meetings and such. But I think that there are a lot of people who could you know get some assistance from and save some potential frustration from knowing that these resources are out there, so they can say, oh wait, how do I do forms? Yes, and they pull up the page. We've got step-by-step instructions, we've got troubleshooting for common issues, and then if anybody has issues that they can't find in the A to Z index, we've got links to ServiceNow so people can submit tickets for us. I think that it would be beneficial as well if more people were aware of that resource, partially because there might be things that issues that have arisen since we have last reviewed it. And if somebody says, yeah, I looked through your resources and don't see my problem, what do I do? Then we can make sure we're feeding people's needs as directly as possible. So I would love people to know about the documentation available to them for WordPress.
True, true. I guess that you make a really good point that there's a lot of people that come in and have to work these sites that aren't necessarily people that are familiar with coding or that are very
Hmm.
techy people
Absolutely.
per se. And I know that I can at least speak for myself saying that I'm one of them as a student employee,
Absolutely.
not know anything about the back end of
Hmm.
WordPress. And I think it's just such like I have so much respect for you guys.
Thank
Such
you
a
very much.
beast. It's so hard to navigate, but I think at the end it's it looks very pretty, if that makes sense. It's very easy,
Excellent.
it's very accessible. Um, like the buttons don't look it doesn't look outdated. I don't know if that makes sense. Um,
That is so good to hear because that was one of the biggest complaints we got about Ectron because it was so outdated. And that is pretty much all thanks to the user experience and design folks because they have put in a lot of effort to work with the developers. So I wish our team could take credit for some of that, but I have to throw hats off to them.
Yeah, no, that's great. And with people in different departments working
Hmm.
on WordPress too, I guess it makes sense that if there was just like a step-by-step like document or anything, because then there's just so much. There's so many things
Right.
that people may have issues with. So I guess
Hmm.
that makes a lot of sense. Um, and one thing that I think for me and coming from a student perspective, I would want
Absolutely.
something like Louis, I would want Louis to look something like our WordPress sites just because
Mm.
I think that WordPress looks so pretty and just so updated. I think that Louis would look really good if it looked like that. But that's just from
Yeah.
me and my opinion.
Yeah, I am not sure who would be best to talk to on the PeopleSoft team, but if you ever are able to get one of them on here, that would be a great thing to talk about with them. Because I know PeopleSoft, the software or the platform that Louis runs on, is just a beast and a half
Mhm.
of complex features and integrations with so many different things. And they recently did a pretty big upgrade project in terms of the back end functionality, making things run smoother. And so I wonder what design options are available. Yeah, I'm not super sure, but they are all incredible on that team. So if you ever get the chance,
Yeah.
I'd recommend talking to them too.
Yeah, for sure. And I do have like I really appreciate how Louis gives us like easy access to our classes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I just think that like in terms of like students, we'd want it to look a little bit more like our website.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you notice any differences between coding for a website or coding software for like a game or an app? Do you know anything about the differences between those two?
Yeah, I can talk some about that. As I myself am not a developer, getting too into the weeds here is a little
Yeah.
beyond me. But being a developer or doing programming, coding are all kind of very general terms.
Mhm.
Much in the same way, let me think of a good metaphor here. There's a lot of ways to write, even just language. Somebody who writes poetry versus somebody who writes history textbooks. They're doing the same type of thing, but the way they go about it, the way they engage, and what they create ends up being pretty different in form. I kind of see coding the same way. The many, many different coding languages serve a lot of different purposes. So you have things in web development, and more specifically, front end web development, like HTML and CSS and some JavaScript. And these are languages that work with how things are displayed. They control color and formatting and simple structure on how the page looks. That kind of coding will connect to if somebody pulls up the website on a mobile device. Where do the various elements in the page shift around to fit that screen perspective as opposed to a normal computer screen, for example? Whereas when you get into software programming, especially for things like games, you get into programming where you are telling the computer and the things that are interacting with it how to do things. It's a much more kind of fundamental building block level of when this happens, perform these steps or start these processes. So they are rather different beasts. If you're studying them, for students who are interested in either one, you would end up taking a lot of the same classes, in the School of Informatics, Computing, and Computer Sciences, or Cybernetics and Computer Science. I don't remember the exact name for that. I apologize. There's a lot of overlap between the two, but in terms of the workforce and how they use the coding languages they know, there are some pretty notable differences.
Gotcha, gotcha. I really like that metaphor that you explained.
Thank you.
That's just like
Thank
a
you.
really good way. And going back to how you're saying that they would take this like similar classes, just like regular, let's say English students would take basic writing classes, but depending on like emphasis and stuff like that, then it'd be
Yeah.
specialized. So that's I really like that. That really helped me piece it
Yeah.
together.
And I
Uh,
do have to give the caveat that again, it is a little beyond me. So if people are interested, I highly recommend looking into the NAU website for details about these programs, or even just doing some quick research themselves. There is a ton of great information out there.
yeah, well, that's awesome. Thank you. And I know that you're involved in esports at NAU. Could you tell us a little bit about how that started on campus and how you helped it grow?
Sure. Yeah, I am no longer involved with esports at NAU, but I was involved in the formalization of it, shall we say.
Mm,
The club existed for a couple of years, to my understanding, without official club status at the university. But it was then, let's see, was it 2019? One of my student employees on my team became the president
mm,
and came to me and said, I really want to make this real. So many universities are doing this. Are you willing to be, a staff sponsor to help us get off the ground, help us get started? And I am a pretty big gamer in my personal life. It is a big hobby of mine. Not much in the competitive multiplayer esports type, but games nonetheless. And so I said, you know what? Sure, I don't know what this will take, but let me see what I can do. And so went to not just me, but another ITS colleague, Jeremy Anderson, who at the time I think was with Telecom, now is a sysadmin, I believe. And so we kind of helped guide Gabe and get him talking to some of the right people. And I mean, to be frank, he taught a lot to us about what was going on. He
mm.
was an incredible resource. It wouldn't have gotten anywhere that it did without him. But while he was getting students together and working through the new opportunities for events and funding and so on that student clubs get, Jeremy and I started using some of the larger networking opportunities available for staff. And so, where Jeremy went and talked to a lot of the big sky stuff that's going on right now, how we are part as NEU is part of a League of Legends tournament with the actual Big Sky Conference, the same athletic conference that our football games are played in.
Oh, that's awesome.
He went and helped get those set up through lots of meetings with them, and I worked closely with Giovanni Castillo from the IVR lab, Interactive Virtual Reality, over in School of Com, and this was very, very kindly at the nudging of Dr. Burrell. We had awesome support kind of all the way up in terms of helping give these students the opportunities to really take this seriously and create some new things here at NAU. So with Giovanni, he and I talked a lot about the combined advanced media lab, which is where a lot of the VR lab stuff works. I know there was a potential social media lab going there. I don't know where the status of that is,
Mhm.
but then also having the resources in that lab available as a resource for the esports teams to come in and practice. Dedicated computers where they can practice with each other, can get in later in the evening to find time, so that way students who might not have had the resources, expensive computers that could run these games really well on
Mhm.
their own, could still find ways to practice and learn to play at this level if it was something they were really interested in. And a lot of, I mean, the design was pretty much all Giovanni. He's an incredible guy, and we could not have done it without the massive support we had, kind of on all sides. There was a lot of stuff that my own boss at the time let me go to meetings for to help make this happen. So we are very, very grateful, and I'm super grateful to have been a part of it. Um, and so when Gabe, the student worker on my team who was the president, graduated, I stepped away from any of esports, partially because I am not in that type of gaming in a sense. And so while there is probably benefit I could serve in some form with organizing or something in terms of the passion and drive, the new students that were coming in and Jeremy, were all doing great, great work, and they had a really good thing going. And so I felt that I kind of did my part and stepped on down. But I am actually right this minute wearing my NU Esports jersey, as I did purchase one as we first launched them out. And I do still try and follow what's going on. The League of Legends tournament in Big Sky is currently ongoing. I believe they had their first game of the season just this weekend on Saturday. I
Oh,
do not know how it went, but I'm hoping to be able to catch their next one this coming Saturday on Twitch. They've got all sorts of stuff on their website, which you can also find through the Advanced Media Labs website. And they stream all of their games on Twitch, and so it'd be fun to see, how far they've come, where they're at, and what they're going towards.
that's awesome. And I know that right now it's a little tricky
Hmm.
because of COVID, that I don't know
Right,
how many classrooms are open and how many people can go into the advanced media lab. But I still
right,
think that it's awesome because since in this little era of working remote, if people can log on, they still can like join and play and hang out with
right.
these people virtually. So I just think it's
Hmm.
so cool, and I'm really glad that you guys were able to like stand it up and provide students this like opportunity.
Yeah, it is kind of difficult in these times, but there is one of the benefits of esports being a, virtual medium for people who do have the computer access. And a lot of these games don't need fancy computers just to play. People can do a lot of this stuff on laptops, but to be able to maintain our community through Discord, a chat platform essentially that has streaming capabilities and people can do voice chat and text chat. People can still have meetings and get together to practice and play games and so on. There's been a lot of great opportunity for esports and tangentially related activities to continue even in these very, very interesting times. But I'm really hopeful that as we move towards more vaccination, which is awesome, and can get more people back on campus and socializing in safe ways, that we'll be able to return people to these resources that are coming together.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'm so excited to see that keep growing because I know it's
Yeah.
still pretty new. It's still like a toddler, if you will.
Yes.
It'll be exciting to watch that. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you for joining me today. Is there anything else you'd like to end off on or anything?
Let's see. I don't think there is much. The only thing I'd like to throw a shout out for is I know that we will be participating in the next employee development day, quote unquote. I know it's shifting to I think some sessions spread out over the next couple weeks. So for staff and faculty that are using WordPress or potentially interested in WordPress, I will be teaching a couple of sessions. I think 2 each week. We might be doing some revisiting from last year in terms of helping people learn about our forms plugin and our tables plugins. So some advanced features that aren't covered in our traditional WordPress training, and then potentially about Site Improve, our monitoring platform I mentioned at the beginning that collects a lot of great data about potential misspellings on sites, broken links so people can stay on top of them and ensure that people are getting the content they need, tracks things like reading level so people can know what their content is kind of hitting in terms of audience. There's a lot of great stuff that we might get the chance to talk about. So if there are faculty and staff interested in learning more, there will be more information on that coming out soon. And I do encourage any students, we actually, hopefully, in the next couple of months, we'll be looking for some new student workers for our team, as our current students, so most of them, I should say, are graduating. So if you have any interest in learning more about the web and WordPress, keep an eye on Handshake in the next couple of months, and there might be some interesting opportunities.
Oh, that's awesome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for talking to me. I hope you have
Absolutely.
a good day and stay safe out there in the snow.
Absolutely. Back at you.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. There. There.